The Great Wall was heavily guarded, and in the blink of an eye, hundreds of hooks flew across the walls, and it was the Huns who raided them, and the soldiers lit bonfires and smoked. The enemy general showed a sly smile after reading it. He just wanted the people of the Central Plains to know that Shan Yu's iron cavalry was overwhelming. The emperor immediately ordered all parts of the country to recruit strong men and urgently call all soldiers back to the camp to serve. The general believed that the defenders of the capital could defeat Shan Yu. But the emperor said, "You can't take it lightly. In special times, small people may also be the key to success." Mulan is the daughter of an old man. She studies women's morality at home, teaches her husband and children 3 from 4 virtues. The more she learns, the less she sees. It's time to feed the chickens once a day. Mulan sent Xiaobai to help her, and she ran excitedly all the way, just passing by the old man Hua, who was burning incense to his ancestors, praying for Mulan to make a good impression on the matchmaker. This afternoon is the day when Mulan goes to the city on a blind date, while Lao Han is very worried, incense one ancestor after another. His mother is also worried in the city. The matchmaker can't wait. Mulan is riding a big horse, and she is innocently late. Since it is a blind date, she has to dress up as a lady. The 3 aunts and 6 mothers-in-law pushed Mulan into the bathtub, washed it, tied her hair in a bun, put on new clothes, and put on makeup. Men go to the frontier, women raise children, and if they want to win glory for their ancestors, the daughter's family must marry a good groom. In order to make this blind date go smoothly, Grandma hung a cricket on Mulan's buttocks, which is the mascot that Grandma worked so hard to find, bringing Mulan good luck and blessings, and together with the 5 girls, Mulan has to accept the matchmaker's review. The matchmaker was not satisfied with Mulan, and just took a look at it and said, "It's too thin. This can't give birth to a big fat boy." Not only a big fat boy can't give birth. Hua Mulan poured a cup of tea for the matchmaker, and almost broke her up, and even her butt caught fire. The matchmaker said to Mulan, "Just you, no matter how you dress up, it is impossible to win glory for the Hua family." Mulan returned home embarrassed. Her father didn't say anything about her, just held hands and sighed together, letting Mulan see the matchmaker. It was also difficult for her. Mulan came to the ancestral hall alone, wiped the makeup off her face. When in the end, can she become the daughter who makes her father and mother happy? Daddy comforted her. "How good this year's flowers are, although this one did not bloom, but I believe that when it blooms, it must be the most beautiful one among the 10,000 flowers." This moment of warmth was interrupted by the drumming of the imperial court. The emperor's conscription order came down. The Xiongnu invaded the Central Plains, and each family must send a male to enlist in the army to defend their homeland. When the Hua family received the order, the old man put down his crutches and walked forward as if he were dead, and his father was ready to be loyal to the country. But Mulan rushed out and said that my father had worked for the country all his life, and he couldn't join the army, and before she could finish speaking, the chief eunuch told her to shut up. "Men's affairs, how can it be a woman's turn to intervene? Mulan, don't embarrass your father," while Lao Han took the holy decree. "Tomorrow at noon, the barracks will report for duty." At night, while Lao Han took out his sword, but his body, let alone practicing the sword, struggled to stand up straight. Mulan didn't want her father to join the army. "There are so many young people in this country. Why do you have to ask a lame person to go on the expedition?" In the shadow of the candle on the rainy night, the mother bowed her head and was reluctant to give up her father. Mulan looked at this scene. She made up her mind, took off the hairpin, cut off her long hair with a knife, tied her hair into a man's appearance, put on her father's armor, rode a horse in the rainy night, said goodbye to her father, and set off for the army. Grandma woke up from her dream. She sensed that Mulan was gone, and now it was too late to chase her, so she could only ask the ancestors to bless Mulan and return safely. The ancestors of the Hua family had a meeting overnight. What should I do? Hua Mulan went to the army for her father. If this is discovered, it will be a crime of bullying the king, and the 9 clans will be punished. Let's talk about a girl's family. How can you fight? The ancestors decided to send a divine beast to chase Mulan back. Mushu dragon is a small alarm clock. it is responsible for waking up the boulder dragon. Mushu dragon was originally also a guardian spirit, but because he made a mistake, he was demoted, and he could only act as an alarm clock. Don't even give you a chance, you old immortal. The Mushu dragon exerted its strength to feed, but it did not wake up the giant stone dragon. On the contrary, it shattered the people, and the ancestor urged the dragon to set off in the ancestral hall. That can't be helped. Mushu Long can only pretend to be a Shunlong and go to find Mulan to come back. Mushu Long has a new idea to turn Mulan into a hero. The old ancestors in the ancestral hall will beg it to go back, and maybe it can be upgraded. However, Mulan made a mistake in front of the army, and she didn't dare to move forward. After all, she didn't look like a man at all. If you want to join the army, unless God helps her, say God will arrive immediately. Mushu Long hid behind the stone and told Mulan, you must not be found to be a daughter, otherwise the consequences will be serious. When Mulan saw Mushu Long's real body, she couldn't believe it. How did the ancestors of the family send a gecko to help herself? Mushu Long said that he was a dragon. What a gecko! I just transformed into such a small person. It is convenient to move. In short, you start listening to me now, and make sure you become a big hero. Mushu Long taught her to walk into the barracks like a man, straighten her chest and stomach, raise her head and spread her legs. Seeing the men in the barracks, Mulan felt really disgusting, and she didn't pay attention to hygiene at all. Mushu Long taught her that men like to move their fists, and if you hit them, it is equivalent to saying hello. Generally, the heavier the hand, the better the feelings. Mulan did as he said, and it really achieved obvious results. The general was in the barracks and appointed Li Xiang as a lieutenant and was responsible for training recruits. After 20 days, the results were tested by the general. In fact, the general is Li Xiang's father. He did not tell others the identity of his son, and hoped that he would rely on his own strength and be powerful in the army. The first person who needed leeway was Mulan, who caused a group fight in the army. Li Xiang asked her, "What is your name?" Hua Mulan was hesitant and said that she was Hua Ping. When the chief eunuch saw her military post, he knew that Hua Laohan also had a son. No wonder Hua Laohan never told others that he still had a son. This child didn't look like a man at all. The next day, the training officially began, and Mulan was lifted out of the bed by Mushu Long, and I don't know where it got breakfast, so she fed Mulan to her heart's content and sent her out for training. Li Xiang couldn't wait to train these shrimp soldiers and crab generals into elite soldiers. He set the bow and arrow on the stake, and then gave the soldiers an iron plate in the left hand represents discipline, and an iron plate on the right represents courage. These soldiers are very casual, some have big bellies, some have thin waists, but they don't look like soldiers. Li Xiang does things according to the regulations, looking at this gang of wastewood day by day, and gradually has a look. But Hua Ping is still a vase, with little strength and weak body, let alone killing the enemy in battle. It is not good to eat 2 more bowls of rice. Unexpectedly, Hanadi used an iron plate to make a ladder and was the first to take off the bow and arrow he shot at the stake, and Hanaping proved with practical actions that he was a small soldier with brains. After 20 days of training, most of the soldiers showed amazing progress. There is one thing that Mulan can't compromise, that is, taking a bath. Physical training can be the same as a man, but dirty can't be like a man. Mulan was bathing in the wild that day. A Ning, Jinbao, and a Yao also took off their cleans and plunged into the river to take a bath. Mushu Long was very scared, and Mulan didn't even wear a 3-point style. At the critical moment, Mushu Long bit A Ning's buttocks before Mulan landed with all her beards and tails. As soon as he returned to the barracks, the chief eunuch was scolding Li Xiang, saying that the soldiers he led could not go to the battlefield to fight at all, just like him as a commander. Indecent. Li Xiang was very sad after hearing this, and walked out of the camp with a disgraced face. Mulan comforted him, "You are a good captain, don't be discouraged." Li Xiang didn't react anything, but Mushu Long was keenly aware that Mulan was afraid that she didn't like Li Xiang. That wouldn't work. This is a frontline war, you have to make meritorious service to be a hero. Mushu is dedicated to making Mulan a hero, but now that he has practiced martial arts, he doesn't go to the front line to kill the enemy. How can you make meritorious service? The first thing the Mushu dragon did was to forge the letter. It wrote a panda and sent the fake news to the chief eunuch. The next day, everyone quickly packed up and rushed to the front. There are verdant mountains and small villages with simple folk customs along the way, but when you get to the front line, you see the devastated and fragmented camps. Li Shang saw the corpses of soldiers all over the ground. The general's helmet was found in the heavy snow. Li Shang kowtowed to his father's helmet. He quickly dealt with his grief and continued to walk forward with the team. Halfway to encounter a surprise attack by the Han army, an army of thousands of people, rushing down from the snow-capped mountains. Li Shang aimed the cannon at Shan Yu. Mulan suddenly saw the towering snow-capped mountains, without saying a word, picked up the powder keg and rushed forward. At the moment when the fire was about to be ignited, the match was blown away. Mulan lit the fire with the Mushu dragon, aiming at the snow-capped mountains in the distance, and before everyone could react, the avalanche happened, and Shan Yu's army was crushed under the heavy snow. Mulan passed the rope to the soldiers, but fortunately Jin Bao was a natural strong man, and he pulled Mulan up from under the cliff, even the men and horses. But at this time, Mulan's consciousness gradually blurred. She injured her abdomen, and when she woke up from a coma, Li Shang had already found her daughter. The chief eunuch went even further, directly dragged Mulan out of the camp tent and demanded that Li Shang kill her. This is the crime of bullying the king. Military law is not a child's play. Li Shang thought about it again and again. In the avalanche, it was Mulan who saved him, and now he wants to kill her because she is a woman? Li Shang decided to take one life for another. Let Mulan go. Don't appear in front of him again. Whatever the chief eunuch wants, let him go. Mulan took Dama and Mushu to walk back, and halfway through, she actually saw Shan Yu and several generals crawling out of the snow. None of them died, and they were about to blend into the capital. Mulan can't sit still. She must inform Li Shang that in the city, Li Shang is riding on a horse, and she doesn't believe what Mulan says. At this time, just in time for the Central Plains Lantern Festival, the emperor thought that Shan Yu's army had been cleared and was celebrating with his people. But he didn't know that Shan Yu's soldiers mixed in the lion dance, kidnapped the emperor, stormed the palace, and closed the gate. Everyone hugged the stone lion and wanted to knock the door open. Mulan felt that this would not work. She led the soldiers to the side. There are a few stone pillars here. Let's use the previous method, climb inside. The soldier is dressed as a woman, close to the person of Shan Yu. It is a harem concubine. How uglier than the two of us. Immediately after 3 strikes and 5 divided by 2, these small soldiers were solved. Li Shang suppressed Shan Yu, and Jin Bao took the emperor to go first. At the critical moment, Mulan cut the rope, and he was angry, and he saw that Mulan was the little soldier who caused the avalanche and killed her with a knife. Taking advantage of her flexible body, Mulan used the paper fan as a weapon and took away Shan Yu's sharp blade. Next, the Mushu dragon rushed to the front line and fired pyrotechnic missiles, and Shan Yu ended in a dazzling fireworks. The chief eunuch also wanted to accuse Mulan of deceiving the monarch, but the emperor knew that it was Mulan who saved everyone. And with all the people, bow like Mulan. The emperor knew that Mulan had no intention of becoming an official, so he gave her a gold medal and Shan Yu's sword, and asked her to go home to worship her ancestors. Daddy was waiting for Mulan at home, looking at the gold medal and sword, and Daddy threw it aside and hugged Mulan. The most glorious thing for our Hua family is to have a good daughter like you. Li Shang traveled thousands of miles to find the Hua family and returned Mulan's helmet to her. Then he said, I would be happy to have dinner at your house, and Mushu was finally promoted to 3 levels in a row and became a guardian spirit. The ancestors had no choice but to follow him, who let him cultivate the most promising person of the Hua family.